Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the CRKT Large Pilar full review. I did a little preview of this the other day when I attempted to do an unboxing that I screwed up, so I just did a quick first impressions. But I spent a lot of time with it. I feel like I really have a good opinion of it now after 5 days carrying it around. This is the D2 version with the G10 on one side. You have the coated stainless steel frame lock on one side, coated blade, as I said, D2 steel. There is also a version with a CR13 blade, this G10, and a non-coated stainless frame lock, and also one that is full stainless with HCR13. This is the most expensive of them. This is $50. I think the other ones are 40 and 30 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the prices are. But this is the one I wanted because it's D2. I always love the Pilar. I like getting upgraded steels. I don't like it with the HCR as much just because it's HCR. As you can see by the fact, premature size comparisons, I have the original Pilar in the Blade HQ exclusive S35VN, which is a really cool little knife that I like a lot. So I was pretty excited to get my hands on this, and we'll talk about more as we get into it. I do really like it, and the example that I got is pretty darn good. I've had almost no problems with it, and after playing with it for 5 days, it's done nothing but get better, except for in one tiny little way. But I will admit, talking to other people, other reviewers, that some people have had some quality control issues and stuff that, unfortunately, that does happen with CRKT. They're a huge company. They pump out a lot of knives, and it does occur. But this one is pretty great. Pretty happy with the way that it came out, as you will see. I will show you as we go on. It flips great, centering's pretty good, and everything else is really nice about it. Why did this knife happen? Well, everybody loves the Pilar. The only complaints we had was that the original one, was stainless steel all over and heavy as hell and HCR13. They eventually made one with the G10 on one side, and that was getting there, but it wasn't quite there. And then they made one 12C27N. You get in there with the carbon fiber. You're getting there, okay, that's better. And then Blade HQ to this S35VN one, which is the best. It was one and done. I don't think they're going to do it again. But if you got one, keep your hands on it because it's a pretty darn nice knife. I do have to say, I've been quite happy with it in the time that I've had it. But everybody said, some people's hands don't fit. I keep putting this away and I keep pulling it back out again. Some people's hands don't quite fit. Mine barely do. I have large size hands, but pretty skinny hands, and I barely fit on it. For me, though, it's super comfortable, but I barely fit on it. If you have mitts much larger than mine, yeah, it's not going to work that great. So they made one a large. It's still not that large. You're only looking at a 2.625 inch blade length. So still not very big. But as you can see, plenty well hits my hands very well. Fits my hands. There we go. I knew we'd get there together. Fits my hands pretty well. I'm going to leave that in there. I'm not ashamed to show my bloopers. Fits my hands pretty well, and I think you could even have hands a little bigger than mine, and I think you'd still fit it pretty good. I really do. But it's not super big, but then also they went ahead and they added not only the D2 steel, which is a big upgrade as an option, but it's got a flipper tab now, which actually works pretty darn good. At least on mine, it works pretty great. If you liked the look of the original Pilar, you're going to like the look of this too. Let's do some stats before we get too much farther. I'm getting ahead of myself. We will talk about the overall length is 6.625 inches, blade length 2.625 inches. Blade thickness, pretty thick, just as the original Pilar was, 0.15 inches. You have a handle thickness of 0.45 and a weight of 3.5 ounces, so lighter than the original Pilar was, and it's bigger, so that's always a good thing. I can do a few size comparisons. I've already showed it against the other Pilar quite a bit. We will do one of our standards here. You have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. You see, it's bigger, but it's not that big. Compared against a couple other 3-inch knives. because that's kind of the closest. You're kind of between the little big knives and the 3 inchers here. Still just a bit smaller than a pair of 3. And then lastly, I won't do a whole lot and we'll get you out of here. This is one that I thought of to compare it to. Your Kershaw Copper Natrix. Less cutting edge, but as you can see, overall size, almost exactly the same size. Both D2. Yeah, prices aren't that far apart. Maybe I should do something with those two. We'll see. It might be an interesting little comparison between those two. As far as the knife itself goes, the blade on it is pretty good. Thickness behind the edge, not super thin, but 24 thousandths. That's not bad. It's a D2, as I said. Pretty thick blade stock, but very high flat grind. It is the thinnest behind the edge of any of the Pilars that I have had. Even the S35 one, which I think was the previous thinnest one I had, is like 26 thousandths behind the edge. It's down 24 or so. So yeah, pretty thin behind the edge. Nice slicer. Not great slicer. Nice slicer. And yeah, it's D2. All the other stuff that you like about the Pilar. It is a very usable edge, definitely. The only thing I will say compared to the original one, if you're cutting on a flat surface, this is a terrible angle to try and do this. But yeah, the flipper tab does stick out a little bit. Maybe the OG does that a little bit better. I'm going to try and rock this so you can see. It's a terrible way to try and do this. But yeah, the flipper tab hangs down a little bit. But other than that, if you're cutting on the edge of something, it's a very useful blade shape. This kind of sheep's footy thing. I really do like the blade on it. The only thing I can say is I do wish that they had not coated it. I know why they did. I know why they said they did. They said, oh, D2 is not a stainless steel, so we're going to coat it to protect it from corrosion and all that stuff. I can take care of my own blades, guys. Don't babysit me. Don't coat stuff when I don't need it. But that said, I have put this through a lot of cardboard cut testing, and it has not come off. I did clean it up before I did it, but I thought it was scuffed up, and then I wiped it down, and all the scuffs came right off. So it is a pretty good coating. I'll give them that, but still. And I found that on the Caligo too. The coating on that was pretty sturdy, and I assume it's the same probably method they use. But don't babysit me. Just give me the option for the satin blade. I can handle it. I have stuff to put on the blade to make it all right. As far as the ergos go, they're great. Just great. I've always joked on this channel multiple times that Jesper Voxnaes, the designer of this knife, is my hand twin. And I say that because everything he designs is so comfortable in my hand, and this is no exception. It just fits perfectly. It's definitely meant to be used, choked up, and using this forward choil for sure. If you move back, even on my hands, it's basically 3-finger carry. It's meant to be used like this, as is the original Pilar. It's never meant to be used like that. That's just not what it's designed for. But it works. It works really good. Ergonomically, it's just outstanding. No hot spots at all. The clip, I can feel it, but I would hardly call it a hot spot. It came tipped down for some reason, so it came with a clip up here. And that was a bit annoying. I definitely had a hot spot when the clip was up here. But the clip in its proper position, it's fine. Nice place to rest your thumb. No jimping, but you know, it doesn't really need it that much. And if you're doing really detailed stuff, it's nice to be able to move your finger up and just really use it properly. And I think that's why there's no jimping up here. Because if it was jimping, you'd have to slide along jimping and all that stuff. Yeah, it's ergonomically pretty freaking great, I do have to say. As far as the carry goes, it's all right. Not a deep carry clip. Not dramatically taller than the original Pilar, even though it's bigger. They're both about the same height. If you're happy with the way the original Pilar carries, you're probably going to be happy with this. Yes, there is a little bit of flipper tab sticking out, but it's a little bit of flipper tab. It's not going to make a whole big bunch of difference. If you like the original, you're going to like this just fine. As far as the action goes, this one is great. It does run on phosphor bronze. Does not run on phosphor bronze washers. We were all hoping the D2 version wouldn't. It runs on Teflon, and even more annoyingly so, it's different than all the other ones, because there are some aftermarket companies that make phosphor bronze for the original Pilar, and I have a set coming for this. I apologize, I don't remember who it's from. A guy on Instagram asked me if I wanted them, and they're not the same. So that's pretty annoying. Because I was going to say, oh, forget it. I'm not going to put them in that. I'm going to put them in this because I carry this a lot. And no, they're not the same. But it does run on Teflon, but the action is pretty darn good. And someone told me even, I can't verify this, but even the other large Pilars run on different ones than the D2 does. I don't know if that's accurate or not. That's what I was told. We'll find out as time goes on. Assume it's accurate because the guy who told me knows his crap, but and I think he's got both. But anyway, I can't complain about the action, and the detent is excellent. I will say that in order to get the detent that way, or to get the action this way and this smooth, I did have to back the pivot off just a smidge, and now it's not quite perfectly centered. It's not bad though; it's fine. I can make it perfectly centered, but then it still flicks okay. But I like the way it flicks better like this. I chose to choose a slightly off-center blade and better action. That's what I decided to go for. You can choose as you wish, and as I said, your mileage may vary on these. That's just kind of the way it is. But overall, I really, really like this. I'm very, very happy with it. Again, I hate the blade is coated. I know before somebody types it, yeah, I know I could probably do something to take it off, but I'm lazy. I'm not going to do that. I would rather just whine about it. Ergonomics are awesome. Action is really, really good. It carries well enough. It cuts well enough, but it's mainly just these ergos. I think that's why everybody loves the Pilar so much. The ergos are just fantastic. And this is just as good as the original, or better than the original. It's not dramatically larger. Perhaps Pilar Large is not the correct name for this. Someone else suggested, I think it was, they should have if they should have come out with them both at once and named this the Pilar and the other one the Pilar Mini, and then had a Pilar Large that was bigger, because you know that's coming. I'm sure there's going to be a full 3-inch blade Pilar that's the Pilar XL or something like that. But I'm pretty happy with it. It's exactly what you thought it would be. A slightly larger Pilar, which is a good thing, and with better steel. And $50 I think is a very reasonable price for it, especially if you get a good one. And it's CRKT. The same thing happens all the time. The first run, they're going to have some issues. They're already in the second run now. They actually just popped up on White Mountain Knives, which you can use my discount code, SDWNK, at checkout. They just popped back up again on White Mountain Knives yesterday. They're gone again now, but I know they're already in the second run of these. And usually as CRKT goes along, the second run's usually better. It's like an Apple product. The first batch of iPhones always has some issues, and the second ones are great. And I'm thinking probably that's what's going to happen with this. But yeah, I recommend it. I really do like it, especially if you're looking for something in that size range. A little big knife that has a bit more size to it and fits your hand a little bit bigger, a little bit better. Go for it. I'm happy with it. And it's named after Ernest Hemingway's boat, which was the best author ever. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.